Hi, Sweetpea.
Hi, Mummy Bear.
Chit-Chat time.
It is. We're back for another series of Chit-Chats.
We are, and we're kicking it off this series with the absolutely wonderful Greg Anderton.
Absolutely amazing. Such a nice guy. We got to chat with him.
Oh my goodness me, such a lovely guy. He was on Gardener's World episode 17 when they covered the very first RHS Wentworth Woodhouse.
Yes, exactly, which was amazing. Up north.
And Greg had a segment on the show where he gave a little bit of his history, and then we got to see his flower display because he was exhibiting, and he of course won a gold, and we hear a bit more about that on this Chit-Chat.
Yes, of course, the very difficult, oh my gosh, am I going to win a gold?
Yeah, so we recorded this mid-September, and that's relevant because Greg talks about how long one of his ornamentals has been flowering for.
Yes.
So to summarise, it's a very long time.
It is.
But what are some of the other things we talked about, Sweetpea?
We also talked a lot about cake. Towards
Of course you remember that.
Of course, that is what I remember the most because I finally had a kindred spirit who loves to talk about gardens and cake. So of course we talk about that. We talk about the flower power, obviously his dream garden. I mean, he was trying to get all the flower power in there, and just understanding what he's going to be doing in future displays.
That's right, his future shows. So we hear a bit about the judging that happens at these flower shows, and how Greg plans for flower shows a year in advance.
Yes.
We also hear about how he started running his business right from primary school. So he has leafy Lytham on his doorstep, we find out, and he's been running that since he was a little laddie.
A little lad.
But we hear the stories behind that beautiful mosaic path that he has in his front garden.
Gorgeous. And actually, we didn't see the intricacies of the mosaic path on the Gardener's World segment. So we talk a bit about the little bits that he likes to put in there.
Some tips on planting trees. Hear about a frog swimming on his back.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and also his extreme sheep phobia.
Extreme, yes.
He goes to extreme levels to
avoid
stay away from any sheep.
But also something we talked about, and something we didn't at all consider, is the accommodation challenges that these exhibitors and all these people with their show gardens at these amazing flower shows, how they manage their accommodation, where they stay, the cost of it. It was a real shock, wasn't it, when we found out
it's quite a shock. And as you said, I've never thought about it. I've just thought, oh, they're all there. All happen to be in one spot at one time.
Well, we get to hear all about that from Greg. And he also gives us lots of recommendations on his episode. And so we've included those, as always, on our website. And you can find links to his Chit-Chat. And then on the gardens page, you can find a dot on the map of where you can find leafy Lytham and the places he's recommended. The website is notjustagarden.co.uk. And if you want to get in touch about anything that we've talked about, then please do get in contact either through the website on the contacts page or through our email address, which is notjustagarden@outlook.com.
Exactly.
Now, before we hear the format from you, Sweetpea, some of the noises, we actually have a pretty clear sound this time. Greg had his own microphone,
fantastic.
And he also is a bit of an old pro at this kind of thing because he does have a regular slot on Radio Lancashire.
Exactly.
So the only time
to do it.
Yeah, the only time the sound isn't so great is when he will look round to look out his window to see his garden. Then he'll go slightly faint as he then comes back to his microphone.
That is the only variation in sound. I love how that, for once, we've got pretty clear sound.
Yeah. So, Sweetpea, tell us the format.
So for Greg's dream garden, the structure is garden boundary, shed or greenhouse, 5 ornamentals, 5 edibles, 1 statement tree, pond or pool plus 1 plant, and finally, favourite seating area, drink, and 1 plant for that area.
That's it. So, without further ado, let's have a listen to Greg.
Yes.
This is episode 45, a good old chit-chat with Greg Anderton.
Off we go.
Welcome, Greg, to Good Old Chit-Chat.
Oh, thanks, Bear and Sweetpea, for having me. It's absolutely ace.
Absolutely ace.
It is, honestly.
I haven't heard ace in a long time, but it truly is ace. We're so happy to talk to you. We did contact you a while ago, and you were just full in the throes of of all the shows that you're doing and
a lot of work.
Your nursery as well.
Yeah.
So we should explain where we've seen you from. You were on the Gardener's World coverage of the first ever Wentworth Woodhouse, RHS Wentworth Woodhouse, wasn't it? And you had a segment on the show giving us a bit of history, actually, of how you first got into gardening, and then your amazing gardens, which we're hopefully going to talk more about at your place there now, and then your exhibition, and you won a gold, didn't you?
We did indeed, yeah. It was our second RHS gold, which, to be honest, winning the first RHS gold at Hampton was really cool. But then I really felt the pressure was on to win gold at Wentworth, because obviously the TV were following us, and we'd kind of already won a gold. So it was a bit like, oh gosh, we can't drop back to silver gilt now. So we were going round literally brushing the moss and picking the petals up.
Wow.
It was the pressure was
and
on.
Also you said in your segment, I'm determined to get a gold.
Yes.
And we were just sitting there, fingers crossed, please get a gold, please get a gold.
Please, absolutely, yeah. No, and you know what's really funny is no one puts any pressure on me other than myself. I think it's just often if you're doing a flower show, you kind of, and you're going, you just want to do your best, and it's and there is nothing like that feeling of turning up at your stand on the first day and seeing your medal. And if you get a gold, goodness me, it's an exciting thing. The cake comes out in the evening, and it's definitely a pudding night.
Fantastic!
That's our
right
thing.
out Sweetpea Street. Congratulations on your 2 goals, Hampton and Wentworth Woodhouse. You said nothing beats coming up to your exhibit on the first day. So when are they judging you?
So they judge us on the afternoon before the show opens to the public.
Right.
So we have sort of 3 days before usually that we're building. And then the last day is really a titivating day. You're getting your sales tables ready, getting the stand just perfected. And then sort of 1 o'clock comes. You're asked to leave the marquee. You almost have to leave your baby that you've created there on its own, ready to face the judges.
Oh, that's awful.
And then you have a really nervous evening, or I do anyway. And then sort of, that next morning comes, and you're going to the show, and the anticipation. You do. Now, apparently, someone told me that you can see the awards come up on the RHS website at like 12 o'clock at night of that night. But I think it's part of the experience is the anticipation. Even though we've put ourselves through a bit, it's that moment of seeing that medal on your standing. It's
like Christmas.
It's an exciting thing. It is. Yeah, it is.
How fantastic. It's brilliant. And have you been doing other shows since?
So we've done the Chorley and the Southport Flower Show, which are 2 of my very much local shows. And Chorley was the first show I started with, which is a lovely local show based at Astley Hall. It's very much got a village fete vibe.
Nice.
It's absolutely lovely. And then Southport Flower Show is one that I visited ever since I was very young, actually. And I've had my 3rd year there now this year. And that is a show which is very much about high impact planting, very much wow factor. It's a celebration of the end of the season. And at that show we did, we got a large gold medal and had a great time there. So that was ace. So it's been a good year, really.
But you are about high impact, aren't you? Because you said you like sort of bold and beautiful, really strong colours in your displays.
Yeah, it's interesting, really, because some of the other marquee exhibitors say that my displays are almost a little bit of a homage back to the displays in the marquee of yesteryear, sort of those 70s, 80s displays where everything was really bold and sort of, and a slightly wild. And so I think it really is my signature style. And I also think that, I absolutely am behind the environmental movement in gardening, but I think I have also grown up in that movement when a lot of show gardens went down quite a weedy look. And I think it has a place, but I wanted to do something that was a bit different and use more of those old, very bold and bright and brash flowers, which just by their nature would look out of place in those more wild and naturalistic looking gardens. So
I like that actually, because for once you're kind of going back slightly so that you have that contrast. You can have everyone else, and then boom, you've got your display. And it's just there. It's like fire. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting because it's kind of, I think for some of people of our age, we started gardening I certainly started gardening with my grandparents in their garden. And the earliest picture of me in their garden, I had a watering can in my hand.
Is that the Red Wellies photo?
That was the Red Wellies photo.
Photo.
Literally, yeah. And their garden was that. It was full of dahlias and it was full of, really as I would call them now, high impact herbaceous planting. And I think that has had an impact on my style and what feels to me like home and like my identity, really.
Yeah.
What I loved about it was that it wasn't like completely brash and kind of all over the shop, because there was a certain amount of kind of cottage garden-y looks. There's a little bit of Mediterranean in there. I like the mix of everything, and so it flowed into one big piece.
Yeah, and I think that the key with that is colour, and it is one thing that I have quite a bit of experience with, in a sense of we've done a lot of the hanging baskets and window boxes for businesses in Lytham for now the past, nearly 10 years. And with that, people are always asking for different colour combinations, and you're always trying to put different colours together for them. So I've kind of started to, I suppose, learn what colours in quite bold flowers work together. And that is something that I've very much put into my display. So we usually do two colour themes, one that's a little bit more cool and one that's a little bit warmer. So the cool side typically takes that little bit more of a cottagey look, whereas the warmer side has a bit more of that Mediterranean vibe to it. And that's something that I'm definitely going to be going forward with, because for my show gardens next year, I am looking at some really beautiful specimen plants to go into those displays. Some nice yuccas, some
brilliant.
nice different palms and grasses and things. So to really, it's been one of those things that judges have commented on, that they'd like a little bit more sense of maturity in my displays, to really go for the top sort of level. So I'm getting very excited about yucca rostratas and all sorts of things like that.
We've been hearing about that actually on our Chit-Chats.
It's yuccas are a big thing, and I'm kind of, my eyes are opening to them, because I always just saw them as kind of house plants, quite bog standard. But I'm realising how many varieties there are and how kind of cool they can look.
Yeah, I think a yucca rostrata in a pot is a very architectural plant. It has that, and almost, I think, we've had, we regularly put yew balls in our gardens and things like that, which are very obviously hardy plant. But the same sort of effect of a globe can be created with a yucca rostrata. And okay, they're not as hardy, and they needs to be in a pot. They potentially need a bit of protection over the winter time. But in a courtyard garden, with a bit of a microclimate, they can be quite stunning. So I want to actually show people how they can be integrated into a more conventional scheme next year. So lots of ideas there.
Oh goodness, great. Lots of questions as well. So first of all, how do you make a yucca into a ball kind of shape?
Well, it's just naturally that shape. So the Rostrata variety is naturally domed. So over time it will grow onto a stem, but they are very slow growing, and they have a lovely blue colour to them, which opens them up to being used with all sorts of different plants, really. You can use them with those silvery leaves and with the wonderful greens as a contrast. But equally, because of their spiky nature, if you combine them with warmer colours, you get that exotic feel.
Wow.
And they're surprisingly robust. For us, my dad has them in his garden, and we're on the coastline, and we get the winds.
Yeah.
Okay, we're a bit more mild, but we are in the north of England still.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, amazing. To be honest with you, our yuccas which were houseplants, were in the wrong place, not enough light, I think. And so they all looked like they'd died a death. So they went into the plant graveyard that we have in the garden. And suddenly they're absolutely thriving. And we get hit by quite harsh frosts because it's very exposed. They are sort of slightly tucked away, but not much. And I don't protect them because I had kind of assumed they were dead, and then I realized that actually they're doing really well out there, so they're definitely not just a houseplant.
No, they definitely are a plant which will recover with determination. And I often get, it's one of the actually most frequently asked houseplant questions when I'm doing Radio Lancashire, and they will say, you know, like, this yucca has just taken over, it's got too big, you know, what can I do with it? And I'll say, just chop it, you know, and it will come back. It will come back, you know, through the, I mean, in these, you know, these taller, more spindly growing yuccas inside, you know, completely different to yucca rostrata that I'm talking about for outside, but you know, they will come back with a vengeance. So yeah, they are a great plant. Yeah.
So with your plans for next year, do you already have a design in mind?
Well, I do, and then what often happens is that I change it. I'm a bit of it evolves a bit, yeah, because for the shows, we don't grow everything ourselves. We do grow some of our things, but my nursery is about 1/4 of an acre, so it's really small size.
So this is Leafy Lytham.
This is Leafy Lytham, yeah. So Leafy Lytham consists of my plant centre, which is based at the beautiful Lytham Hall estate in Lytham St Anne's in Lancashire. And next door to that, I have a small nursery where we grow all our own hanging baskets and also plants for the shows. But we work with other nurseries around the UK, and they help us basically to put our gardens together for the shows and also to supply the volume for our sales plants. Now, with that in mind, what's ready at different times of the year can be really, really difficult.
That's so hard to say. Yeah.
And quite often I won't have seen the stock before it comes, which can be, you know, so it's kind of, you know, the lorry opens and it's like, right, this is what we're faced with.
What can we work with here?
What can we work with here? Yeah. So, you know, I might have thought, you know what, I'm going to go really big on GMs, you know, they're going to be really great. And then they come and they're a bit too much in bud or they're slightly over, you know. So the displays will often evolve. But what they all have is two things. One is that they will always be high impact, and they'll always have a very strong colour sense. But secondly, the plants that I use in them will be robust to the coastline or to windy gardens, because that for me is a very important thing gardening here. I want to have a beautiful, colourful garden, but I have to be aware that it's windy and that we have salt winds here.
Yeah.
So that's really what we're about at the shows, is showing people how you can choose your plants carefully and they'll survive in those conditions, but you can still have colour.
Yeah. So where you are is your house right on, so you're on the west coast, aren't you? Is your house right on the coast? Can you see the sea from
pretty well. It's about 400 meters from the coast. So there's a couple, a couple of streets in front of us, but it's a wind tunnel. It comes kind of up the road and it's
traveling in.
Yeah. And I think also there's the location seems to mean that the wind swirls around. So so it comes from all different directions. You know, it's not like you can kind of plant something behind somewhere and it's like sheltered. You know, it can just come from really unexpected places.
So you are the oracle on windproof plants, then, I guess, having battled it in your garden.
Yeah, literally. Yeah,
and
literally.
How close is the nursery to you?
So it's 5 minutes down the road, which is nice. And
fantastic.
That's a little bit more inland. So Lytham Hall's Lytham Hall's 5 minutes from me. The nursery's just on the other side of Lytham Hall. So, you know, for saying sake, it's 10 minutes. It's nice and close. So
and more sheltered.
and more sheltered, which is good. Lots of trees around it, which is nice.
Yeah.
But it's handy having it just down the road, because I was talking to one exhibitor and they were saying that if they kind of have that moment when they're driving home from their nursery and they think, oh gosh, I've left the irrigation on, they've got half an hour to drive back. Whereas at least if I have this moment while sat eating my fish and chips, I can just pop back, which is very helpful. So
still chewing the same chip,
and your fish and chips will still be warm,
and they'll still be warm when I get back. Yes,
that's very convenient. You explained on Gardener's World a little bit about how you came about acquiring that nursery. I didn't fully understand. So you were giving a talk to a charity, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So I do a lot of talks for kind of WI groups and like U3A, all those sorts of groups. And this particular one just happened to be held at Lytham Hall. And I was telling them the story about how I started gardening with my grandparents, then, selling plants to teachers at school and all this sort of thing. And then I finished it by saying, and one day I'd love to have my own little garden centre, plant centre. And the new general manager of Lytham Hall, who'd only been in post for about 2 months, was stood at the back of the room, and he came to me at the end and said, that you said about a little plant centre, we'd really like one here. Would you be interested? And I have never, ever clung on to an opportunity like that before.
So they didn't have one prior then? So it was literally you were involved in setting it up?
Oh yeah, literally all the infrastructure has been put in by me. We've designed it around, what I want, and obviously in consultation with them because it's a listed property.
Yeah.
But that was in October 2017, and then it opened in spring 2018. And since it's opened, it's raised, because it's kind of because it's a charity. We do like a commission thing for them as well, and that has raised tens of thousands of pounds for Lytham Hall over the years. So it's been a really good project, and I'm also involved in the development of the gardens there. So we have 78 acres of mainly parkland, but we have a beautiful we have a beautiful South Prospect garden as well, and that is not developed, but when I arrived, it wasn't developed. But over the past 3 years, myself and Peter, the general manager, have been working on those gardens and creating a scheme which takes references from the house, because there hasn't been a historic garden there.
Yeah.
So it's all been very much down to our creativity, which is lovely.
That
is
fantastic.
Fun. So you're head gardener of those 78 acres?
78 acres. We have a parks and gardens manager called Alan, who is fantastic, and he is also involved in the garden too. But his focus very much been on the wider grounds and developing the woodlands, etc. And also kind of getting the project going on the ground as well. Whereas myself and Peter very much before Alan came were designing the space and creating the master plan for it, really, which is now starting to progress.
How do you go about doing that? Do you and Peter sit at a big table and draw up plans, or do you walk around the garden and say, we'll have this here and that there, and see how it evolves from that point?
It was interesting, really. I suppose it was kind of followed a quite typical design process, in a sense that we talked about lots of ideas together. Then I produced some initial ideas, different thoughts about how we could connect things from the house in the garden. Peter and I visited gardens in different parts of the country, got lots of different ideas, and then special and a real perk of the job. And then we produced a finished plan, and that finished plan has then been used by our many volunteers to start to prepare the beds and the layout of the garden. We are incredibly lucky at Lytham Hall because we have 320 volunteers.
Whoa, that is a lot of people.
I mean,
It is.
Greg, this sounds like a dream job. So you essentially had a blank canvas because there was no history that you were following there in terms of the garden aspect of it.
Correct. Yeah.
So you could really use your imagination and, being inspired by things from the house and let it all out there. Is it a formal garden that you're doing?
Yeah, it is. So it's it's roughly 2 acres
2
in
acres
size.
that you're working with.
Yeah.
Right.
So we've
What a
there was
dream.
there was like a parterre garden which was there, which has been developed on, and then we've taken kind of avenues off that really, and worked with that to create more borders and different garden rooms. So we've completed a beautiful violet and purple border called Violet Way because Violet Clifton was the last lady of the manor.
Oh, right.
And that's been done. We've got a David Austin rose garden, which has got some absolutely lovely varieties in there, and we've got a double herbaceous border, and we're now in the process of creating our white garden, which is we chose the colour because a historic statue within the grounds that's quite well known is a statue of Diana, and that is absolutely brilliant white.
Nice.
So
Lady
that's
Diana.
kind of Lady Diana.
Right.
Yeah. So it's beautiful looking. It will be beautiful looking across all the white flowers to this statue. So it'll be, I think, quite special.
What a joy that must be working on that land. Is it fairly flat?
Yes, it is. There's a little bit of undulation here and there, but it's pretty much, though we do have a very significant mound, which is basically all the spoil from one of the ponds that the Clifton family dug years and years ago. And people love climbing up there. But what's great about that is that you can look from the top of it down on the garden. So then when you'll see the pattern of it, and
perfect,
it'll be
Bit
really
of a bird's eye
lovely.
view.
Yeah.
Do you need to get permission, with a listed building, for example, you need permission to do various things with everything?
Constant discussion with the relevant people to ensure that we're doing everything that we should, before certain areas are created, like archaeology has been done to make sure that things are right and that we've done things in the correct and proper way. So no, we're very keen on that, and Peter's very good at making sure that we're,
ticking all the boxes.
Making sure that we're being respectful to the site as well.
How incredibly exciting. That really does sound like the dream job to me.
It does.
We obviously have heard about your background from your red wellies to your making £40 at the school phase, selling your plants that you had propagated. Did you then pursue qualifications in horticulture at college or anything like that?
Interestingly, I studied business at Edge Hill University, and that was kind of because my belief was that I love gardening so much. If I want to learn about, plants, more obviously about plants, gardens, and how to garden, that I could do that from reading my books, from watching YouTube videos, and ultimately from working for customers. And, things will succeed, things won't succeed. I sort them out, customers happy. So that was how I worked with that. However, I did feel that I needed someone to teach me how to do the accounts and how to do the HR side and all of that. So that was why I made that choice. And it also meant that, if I had have decided that horticulture wasn't for me, which ultimately was never going to happen, but just in case, that I had something that was maybe a little bit more a backup plan. It was interesting actually, because a part of going to uni, we had to do a work experience program, and mine was at John Lewis in Manchester. And anyone who's familiar with this area will know that the M60 motorway in a morning is an absolute car park. Yeah, it's awful.
I've experienced the M60 in rush hour. When I worked up in Manchester, it was hell on earth.
Yeah, it is. It honestly is. Yeah. And by the end of it, I had the opportunity to explore the graduate scheme with John Lewis. And I thought about it, and I thought, you know what, while the pension might be good and while it's a wonderful organisation, I don't want to be stuck in traffic every morning. Let's see if I can pursue this little business that I've got and grow it into something that will make me a living. And I'm very lucky that has happened.
The little business being Leafy Lytham.
Yeah,
so you were already there when you were doing your college work?
Yeah, so Leafy
Yeah.
Rhythm started on that day at my primary school summer fair on the 7th of July 2006. And then I sold plants to my teachers at school while I was at high school. And then while I was at uni, I used to take orders from lecturers and take planters in the back of my car there.
Oh
So,
my
yeah.
gosh.
Oh, I
And I started,
see. So
yeah,
I thought Leafy
yeah.
Rhythm came with that conversation you had when you were giving a talk at the charity with
Yeah,
Peter.
so
But
yeah, that was Leafy Rhythm's kind of first plant centre, but way before that, I was doing all the plants for Lytham High Street when I was 20,
amazing.
and I designed my first garden at 21, and we've done about 40 schemes now over that time. So it's a services and retail business, and obviously now the shows has been added into that.
Greg,
So
that's
we,
incredible. I had
yeah.
no idea
That
that
is
there was all
incredible.
that going on as well. And also I think that's very inspiring for people to hear how your route to where you are now, because we've heard, a variety of routes, and many, is going off and doing a horticultural qualification of some sort. But we've also heard people like Dan of Dan's Plants. Have you met him?
Oh, Dan is a legend.
Yeah,
I have a
He's
lot of
lovely.
time for Dan. I really do, honestly. Yeah.
Well, he joined
I
us for
really
a
do.
chit-chat, and he talked about how he started, and
Mm.
it was kind of similar. He was off at university, but he also had his plant selling on the side too. So
Yeah.
quite a similar route to
Yeah,
it.
there is quite a few parallels with me and Dan,
Yeah.
and I think this is actually a very special thing about the shows is that I joke about the pressure of the medals and all of that, but that I think is something that I find fun as well. But one of the biggest things that the shows does is it turns what can potentially be quite a lonely job into something where you get to feel part of a family.
Yeah.
And the exhibitors that I've met through the shows and the friends that I've made is wonderful. And and Dan has become a great friend,
Oh, has he?
and I have a lot of time for him. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's great. So there's
Lovely.
real camaraderie between you all.
Oh yeah,
It's quite fun, actually.
Yeah.
yeah. It's a very special thing, the camaraderie of the exhibitors in the shows, and it's very precious.
Yeah, that's really nice to hear. I also wanted to ask you a bit about your place there before we get onto your dream garden. We saw
Obviously,
your
yes.
garden, which almost seemed to be in three parts. Your lovely front garden, and you had some lovely
Yeah.
lady leaning over the wall chatting to you whilst you were snipping some,
Mhm.
doing a bit of deadheading. I don't know how choreographed that was, but
It genuinely wasn't.
did she just
Actually,
wander
that.
into the
She
camera?
yes, she did. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
And
lovely.
and she was waving from across the road
Oh,
before.
sweet.
But it's a genuinely normal thing to happen. That is that I will be out of my garden. And the amount of people who say hello is lovely.
Oh,
It
well,
really
that
is.
just adds to the
Yeah.
joy, doesn't it? And
Mm.
similar to what you're saying at the shows, where there's just, it sort of draws people together. There was this cobbled area
Yes.
with a kind of a mosaic around a beautiful water feature with this ball and the water sort of flowing down over the ball,
Flowing
which I
down
think is
the
in
Yeah.
your
ball.
front
Wow.
garden. Is that
It
right?
is. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So that cobbled path and mosaicy bit around the water feature,
Yeah.
was that your design?
Yeah, so the front garden before I moved in was literally a tarmac path and grass. And I was determined that having created gardens for all sorts of people in this area, that I was going to create one for myself to enjoy
Quite right.
that was just as nice as the ones that I've created for them. And the cottage being cobbled, I felt it was very important to have those references in the garden. So that was where a mosaic came to. And we also have a beautiful mosaic in the centre of Lytham. So there's a very
All
much a
right.
sense of place with that. In terms of the design for the mosaic, there's a lot of personal references in that. So the shape of the mosaic is from the ceiling within Lytham Hall, and Lytham Hall has become obviously a big part of my life.
Yeah.
So that's there.
Of course. Yeah.
The different things within that design include the Lancashire Rose, because I am Lancashire through and through and very proud to be. There is a windmill in there because Lytham Windmill is an iconic part of Lytham.
Wow.
And the lady who lived in this property before was instrumental in the creation of the Windmill Museum. So there's a little bit of a kind of nod to her. I have an anchor there because these were fishermen's cottages, and kind of pays a little bit of homage to them. And then finally, there is a boat, and that boat is reference to Fairhaven Lake, which is about sort of 500 metres from my back gate. And at Fairhaven Lake, there's a cafe, and that's where I had my first job. And that is truly where I think I learned my work ethic, which has given me kind of made my career successful. So that's always there, just reminding me where it started, really.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
So we didn't see any of that detail.
No, we didn't see those details.
And so you designed it. You didn't build it?
No, one of my very good landscaper friends built that for me, one who I work with quite a lot. And it was very interesting how he did it, actually. He used like insulation board, and then he would cut pieces out of it and then build that bit of the mosaic and then cut a bit more out. And it was very clever.
And then put it all
very
together,
clever.
like
sort of thing. Yeah, so yeah,
cool.
it was quite interesting. Oh, to maybe explain that a little bit better. Basically, the insulation board was put down on the ground where the circle is, and then he would cut bits of board out to give like a small slice almost, and then he'd build that bit of the mosaic on the ground, and then he'd cut a bit more out of the insulation board, and then it would build itself up. Yeah, so that's a better way of explaining it.
Yeah, how interesting.
It was clever.
And what's used to bind the pebbles in?
It was like a cement mix. It was a dry mix, and then they'd put water on it, and then it would hold it in place.
I really love it. And the water feature as well goes so well. It was striking.
Yeah. Well, I started with a different one there, actually. It was like a pot almost in the middle that I quite liked, and I kept looking at it thinking, no, this doesn't look right. No, and then I kind of thought, what do I really want? And what I really wanted was a Jeremy Hastings water sphere, which are made from Cornish slate, and the colours in them. Oh
my gosh!
Yes. Yeah, the colours in them are really exquisite, with the sort of browns and the slates in there. And yeah, it was. I didn't have a holiday that year, but I got a water feature.
I can imagine you wouldn't be able to have a holiday that year.
Oh, that's hilarious! Giving up your holiday for a water feature.
Well, you get to enjoy it every day, don't you?
Yeah. So that was it. Yeah.
And then round the side, was that where you have your Mediterranean garden?
Yeah, this is my coastal garden at the side here. And that kind of is really where I want to play with this idea of a coastal garden that's very intense in colour. So it's got in there, lots of verbenas, lots of scabious, cosmos, lovely eryngiums, all those wonderful herbaceous things. But then, I am still developing some of my structural planting. So again, this is an area where I want to get some of my yuccas in there, and some more jasmines as well, some roses, just all sorts of really colourful things that can cope with the wind. And then the back area is going to be much more Mediterranean, more architectural and hotter colours, really. So it's it's nice, really, because I can look out of my kitchen doors and see my Mediterranean garden, and then look out the side window and see a coastal garden. It's so it's nice, really.
Oh, it sounds really idyllic. Is your front garden the biggest garden?
It is, yeah. So that's very much, this cottage coastal garden, and that is it's actually one of the biggest in our row because I'm an end of terrace. So I was quite chuffed with that, really.
Yeah. Your neighbours must love having you there.
Oh my gosh, they must.
Well, I have been, shall we say, I don't enter the local garden competition because I feel like I would have a bit of an advantage.
Not fair, is it?
It's
really
not
like,
really.
not very fair.
So there was, so there were a few comments when I came, like, the garden competition. I was like, no, don't worry, it's all good. The flower shows.
I'll take a back seat here.
Yeah, I'll take a back seat here.
That's very good of you.
So funny. Very, very good.
Well, I think we should take a look at your dream garden, Greg, which I'm very excited to hear about. So Sweetpea is going to lead you through it.
That's lovely.
Absolutely. Right, so then for your dream garden, what will be the garden boundary? So surrounding your garden, if you want one.
Well, I would say it would be a mixture of cobbled walls and kind of an old heritage brick wall. My reason for cobbled walls is again because in this area, we have these wonderful cobbled walls surrounding the old Lytham Hall estate. So if they're in here, then they give it again that sense of place. I am very lucky. I have got part of one in the garden, so
You've
that's
got a cobbled
nice.
wall there?
Yeah, I do on the other side.
Wowzers.
So it's cool. Interestingly, really, because obviously now everyone's like, "Oh, you've got a cobbled wall, isn't that nice?" But in those days, they were actually just a cheap building material. All these cobbles are just ballast out of the ships at Fleetwood, so they'd empty them out on the beach when they wanted to load them with fish. So they just were a waste product, and the Cliftons built houses with them as a cheap building material, and they built walls with them. So
that's a win-win.
So yeah, win-win.
You landed on your feet with that house. Had you been looking in that area for a long time?
Yeah, the estate agents commented that I was an incredibly difficult buyer because I'd sort of see one and be like, oh, well, the garden just isn't quite. And be like, oh, Greg, please look at the number of rooms and look at the size of the lounge.
No.
No, I'm afraid the garden is not facing the correct way and it's not got character.
No.
So, I think certain estate agents found me quite frustrating. But yeah, it's interesting this actually, because it's like kind of, what, is my dream garden and what does it have in it?
Yeah.
And it's interesting that I am a very, very lucky person to have in my garden now quite a few of my dream things.
So is your garden here your dream garden?
I don't know whether I could really top it. I mean, in terms of it's not finished yet. So there's a lot. Well, a garden's never finished, but it's not at the stage yet where I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I look out and I'm like, yeah, it's reached that point where I'm like happy. There's still a lot more for me to add to it, plants to add to it. But in terms of would I want a garden anywhere else that was a different size or had a different layout or whatever, I probably wouldn't really. No, I think
this is all the space you need there.
Yeah, and I think it kind of is my dream home, really. I can't ever see myself moving at all.
Yeah. So you've got cobbled stone, you've got a bit of a cobbled wall, and what are the other boundaries? Are they fences?
Yeah.
They're brick, so they're brick walls. So my back garden's a walled garden, and then my front garden is cobbled walls. The front wall is listed, and then it's got a lovely privet hedge at the side, and that's quite nice because it gives it that traditional feel. So
sounds incredible. It really does.
It's lovely. And have you got views, or are these the walls in your garden very, very tall?
So the walls in the back garden give me pretty much complete privacy. The only thing that I do think I will need to do is add perhaps some pleach trees at the back, and I would probably be using Elaeagnus for that because that is a fantastic evergreen that can tolerate the coastal salt winds very, very well. So that would help with a little bit of the privacy at the back, but at the front the walls are very low, which allows people to see in and enjoy them. And I see
Chit-Chat with you.
And I see my front garden as very much a public garden, where if I'm out in there, I'm talking to people, and they're enjoying the garden and seeing different things at different times of the year. Whereas the back garden is my personal private garden, and
secret
that is
haven.
it is absolutely.
So in your dream garden, you wouldn't want views of the sea. You wouldn't want to be 2 streets closer.
No,
you wouldn't want any views, especially.
I don't. It's an interesting one, that one, because actually historically this cottage would have had a view of the sea, because behind us here, these were, built effectively on the shoreline, and then the properties added in front of me were effectively land claim from the sand dunes, etc.
Gotcha.
So it would have historically had those views, but those other houses do give me a little bit of protection. And I always remember we visited an NGS garden in Crantock in Cornwall. And I can't remember the chap's name, but he was a fantastic man. And he said that you can either have a garden or a view. And I often think, well, I can go and walk on the front within 10 minutes, and I can go and see the view across the estuary, and that's lovely.
That's interesting. Why
But I
does he
want
say
my
that,
garden.
though?
Well, I think maybe because he was implying that on the cliffs in Cornwall, if you don't have a sort of windbreak of some sort, then what you can grow is quite limited, or in his view was more limited than he would want. So he planted a lot of hedging and big tall trees and shrubs around his garden, which actually blocked his view. So if those weren't there, he would have had a complete view of the cove of Crantock. But that's always stayed in my mind, that what would I rather have here? A view of the coast all the time, or this garden, which, although it's on the coastline, does allow me to grow all sorts of things in it. I still have to be careful, but it does open me up to a lot more. That I think is what I'd rather have.
Another option would be that he planted those windbreaks partway down the garden so that he could have best of both worlds. So you then would go through a little opening to the other side, where then you'd have the cliff tops and the sea view, and sort of
interesting.
Very wind in your hair. Yeah, as you say, a breeze in your brain, don't you, Sweetpea?
Breeze in your brain, yes.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
Maybe a little bench there overlooking your sea view.
I suppose also it depends, because obviously if you're not by the sea, if you're in just kind of, I don't know,
rolling
kind of hills and valleys, or or even just in kind of countryside, you can still have a view with a garden. So I suppose it's kind of, if you're going to be by the sea, which is quite harsh conditions anyways.
Yeah, it is. And, I do find that when I've designed a couple of gardens right on the front in Lytham, and it is a different climate entirely, and you do really have to choose your plants very well and be strategic with the positioning of trees and shrubs, and to try and, because quite a lot of people obviously do want to retain their view, but I do think a lot is to be said for planting trees and shrubs to create a microclimate in the garden. We've just recently been to Cornwall, and Treba gardens, have all of these trees around them, and it creates that wonderful microclimate where you can grow so many different things. And my other favourite in Cornwall is Lamorren House, the garden of Robert Dudley Cook. And that again has got trees and shrubs planted within it, but then little cutouts where you can see the view, which I think's very, very clever. But he was another one who commented that once his kind of his boundary had grown up a bit, and those trees had got to a certain size, he could grow a lot more than he otherwise could do.
Another one I'm thinking of is Overbeck's. Have you been there in Devon, in Salcombe?
Yes.
And it was on Gardener's World. And it's kind of on a cliff face almost, isn't it?
I have.
Sheer drop.
Yes.
They've done well to get views and also build up a lot of very mature, beautiful trees.
Trees. They've got a gorgeous woodland.
Yeah.
I think that's an incredibly well chosen planting garden. I remember going there.
Stunning, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very, very pretty, and it is an example of where absolutely, you can have a garden and a view. It was absolutely gorgeous when we visited. Yeah.
I think it just entirely depends on your situation. If you're going to be in really harsh climates with the wind and the salty air, I mean that is so harsh for so many plants. Of course, it can depend.
The upkeep of your house as well.
Oh my gosh!
Well, absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Well then, would you like a shed or a greenhouse if you had to choose between the two?
Well, this is one that I can definitely say will form part of the dream garden, because at the moment I've got 2 outbuildings here, which are, well, I have a shed at the moment, and it's not part of the listing, which is good. But in the long term, I would very much like to replace that shed with a greenhouse, and a lovely ornamental greenhouse where I could grow all sorts of, cacti and really tender plants, and also used to sit in as well. I think that a greenhouse now has taken on a new role in gardens, that, it's not not just for plants, but also it's that seating area where you feel like you're in your garden, but if it's pouring down outside, you can still enjoy it.
Blissful.
And they are very blissful. I have to say, I do get slightly depressed when I see a greenhouse without any plants in it. That just, to me, feels...
Have you seen some of those?
Yeah.
What are they doing? So just to sit in?
Just to sit in, just as a seating area,
no, that's a bit
and
sad,
that. It's just depressing.
But then any room, anywhere, I think every room in a house should have plants in it.
100%.
Yes.
It just brings something different to home. We rented a place briefly, and I was umming and ahhing whether to get plants because we were renting, and I couldn't then take them with me afterwards. And then I just decided, you know what, I've got to do it, because I walk into our house, this rented place, after a day out, and it just feels dead. And then as soon as you just put even just basic palms in, immediately lifted the whole space.
Entirely. Yeah.
Massive.
It's very, very
massive
important.
Difference.
Now, Greg, do you have a partner?
No, I'm on my own, which is great.
Own. Well, then I don't need to warn whoever is with you, because
what are you saying here, Sweetpea?
What happens when you get a greenhouse is it becomes your space.
I see where we're going with this.
I used to not see Mum for a very, very long time. I would be in that greenhouse for hours in the winter because it's so warm.
But to say nothing of if I dared to approach said greenhouse, the stern look I would get at the door, and I would back away, apologising.
Yeah. So you're lucky you could spend hours in there and not have someone
and not upset
tell
anyone.
You go, excuse me, that's been hours.
I may look back at this conversation in years to come and think, wasn't Sweetpea talking such knowledge there,
sense.
and such sense, and hasn't this all come full circle?
Wise beyond her years.
Yeah, literally.
You have to let us know.
Yes. Absolutely. I will come back to you in 10 years. Do you remember that you said about not coming to a greenhouse? Yeah, well, it's happened. But no, for now, it's great, because if I want to plant something in the garden, I just go do it. And you know what? I actually find, in a way, is my garden like sort of my partner?
Yeah,
possibly.
I understand that. I get that. Yeah,
it's an interesting one, that, because in my job I have to work with people to create, gardens. I'm very lucky. I have a team of 7 on staff who work with me. And also, I have my clients who I work with. So often there's a lot of different people involved with the garden. Whereas this one here, is mine, and it's my play space. So
your choices.
Possibly, maybe I'd find that a bit of a challenge. But that said, I think when you meet someone, and if they have a love of gardening too, I think
they're
naturally, and also you bounce ideas off each other, and then maybe after initially thinking this is my domain and this is my whatever, then actually you start to realize that they also have some very good ideas. Just I was just thinking then about your greenhouse question. I think one of my favorite greenhouses that I've sat in, it's kind of that's had that lovely balance between the leisure element of sitting in the garden and a beautiful greenhouse, was the garden of Graham Robeson at the old vicarage in Norfolk. Alan Gray and Graham Robeson, that's it. And that was a lovely greenhouse, that, with the little garden outside it and then all the pelargoniums inside it.
Yeah, I know the one you mean. They were on Gardener's World, of course.
They were.
Yeah, that's amazing. That garden. Yeah,
absolutely fantastic. Would you have a cobbled floor to your greenhouse?
I was about to ask that,
Sweetpea,
because you love cobbles.
Yeah, I think I would if budget allowed.
Yeah,
then I would do.
Yeah,
I would.
When do you think you're getting the greenhouse in your garden?
Maybe within the next few years, something like that,
Okay.
For now I'll look out at it and kind of imagine what it will look like and how it might work. So
and prepare for no holiday at some point in that time to get your cobbled floor.
Yes,
no holiday.
I mean, I have a really basic car. Like, people can think sometimes, you design all these gardens and whatever, and I have like little garden centre and whatever. And, I'm kind of driving around in my old Vauxhall.
Nice.
It's like, well, no, I don't have a fancy car, but it goes into my garden. So, it's my pleasure. Yeah, it is. Yeah,
more beautiful than any car. Now that's going to have a lot of controversy against
it. It's the comments now are going to come in.
Oh,
what
no.
did she just say?
What would be 5 ornamentals for the garden?
Well, I thought quite long and hard about this, and my absolute favourites would be, first of all, verbena lollipop. And
yes.
that I find really good because verbena bonariensis in this garden just ends up looking a mess. It ends up arched over, it ends up snapping off, and it just ends up looking a bit ugly. So verbena lollipop is a more dwarf variety, and it also grows more sort of bushy. So it's quite a nice little dot plant, but I also find it quite nice as an edging plant as well. It's got a long flowering season. Mine started, it was well before Hampton Court. It was sort of, I would say, the end of May, and it's still going now, and it's still got its colour in it. So it's a great plant. It really is.
Is it the same colour flower as a bonariensis?
It's slightly lighter purple.
Right.
Which, again, I think is quite a good thing because, again, verbena bonariensis is a little bit dark for me. I mean, this one's a bit lighter. So, yeah, it's a really nice one and easy to grow in, any sort of average to sandy soil, but also in sunny to part sun positions, really.
What sort of height does it grow to?
You get it to about sort of 50, 60 centimetres on it. Absolute max 60 centimetres.
Okay, that's nice.
So Sweetpea planted a verbena bonariensis.
Yes, I will never hear the end of this.
Gravel garden. And I've loved them when I've seen them, but I didn't experience them firsthand. They're so tall and long, and this huge, massive, long stem just flopping over with a couple of dots on top of it. And darker purple than I had envisaged. I wonder if in my mind I've always seen the lollipop one, but the lollipop one I really like the sound of because
I like the sound of
it ticks the boxes that aren't currently being ticked. So it's shorter, more bushy.
A
lighter purple. That sounds like what we need. Does it self-seed prolifically as well?
In my own garden, it has set seed, but it can then start to come back a little bit taller. So that's your only thing. So, you just have to keep on top of them. But the actual mother plant is quite perennial compared to other verbenas. So, you can kind of weed out some of those seedlings.
This is what we need, Sweetpea. This sounds
nice first choice.
Much more up my street.
Yeah, very, very nice. And what are the other 4?
So scabious.
Of course.
Scabious, I think, is a great repeat flower in a small garden. You need that continuity of the colour all the way through the season, and they do that by simply keeping deadhead in them.
Any favourites?
Particularly Mariposa Blue, I think, is very nice. That's very pale blue. Big flowers as well, so they're nice and bold. Again, it's, I think, my high impact thing. The bigger, the bolder the flower, the better. So that's an awesome one.
Lovely.
I think my favourite plant is Nemesia Wisley Vanilla. That has the most gorgeous scent. It will be one that we will be having at the flower shows next year. That is a good tender perennial. If you put it in a protected spot over the winter time, it will actually come back next year, and it will just repeat flower all the way through the summer. And it has this gorgeous vanilla scent. So great for in a container on a patio somewhere like that. So that's a nice one too.
I've never heard of that one, but I like the sound of it.
Yeah. So that's a good one. Another couple just to mention would be the combination of hellebores and cyclamen coum together. So that's sort of 2 in 1, but they together, those, I think they look fantastic. If you get like the Ice and Roses range of hellebores, they have some of the most gorgeous colours in there that are like rich velvety reds, the deep purples, but then some lovely soft pinks and very pure whites. And they produce, again, big, bold flowers. And if you underplant those with cyclamen coum, you get this carpet of pink and white under them. And I have that on my sort of streamside garden, which on Gardener's World will have shown more sort of ferns in there and greenery, really. In the winter time, that's the colourful bit, and that is just full of cyclamen coum and hellebores, and they do very well there, really.
Yeah. Is that in your front garden?
Yes, that's in my front.
Have you got a stream?
Yes, there's it maybe
got a stream.
Yeah, I've got a pond and stream. Yeah, it's that's sort of on
you
one
have
side.
Everything there.
Okay, you literally do have your dream garden. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, I have a bit of a thing for water features. It is commented on quite often with my dancing fountains in the back garden, and then my stream in the front, my ball water feature, and then a tear fountain at the very back. So it's
amazing.
We've got them all.
Yeah, it's a bit of an obsession, maybe.
Where's the stream running then in your front garden?
Yeah, where to?
It runs sort of from the top corner through the sort of right-hand side of the garden as you look from the road, and then it culminates in a little pond at the very front, and I have more sort of alpine plants growing around it, so sort of aubrecias and erigeron, carvinskianus and those sorts of things. So they're all growing around there.
Where does the water go afterwards?
It has a recycling pump in there, so it just goes round and round.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
so,
right.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So yeah, it's not like a natural stream.
I was thinking, it goes through all the neighbours.
Yeah, not quite.
Not quite.
Fantastic.
Lovely. And then I think you've got a fifth ornamental.
So Allium Millennium, which is, again, nice way to bring alliums into your garden without having really enormous ones. Although I do have some of like the Globemaster and Purple Sensation. If you're wanting something for a pot, I have not found those bigger alliums to grow very well in pots at all. There may be something I'm doing wrong, but I have found the perennial alliums like Millennium, like Lavender Bubbles, to do super well. And one clump will produce about 30 flowers after a couple of years, and those flowers last ages. So they're a hard-working plant. If you want, you can actually cut the flower heads off at the end of the year, dry them and spray them sort of silver and gold and add them into your Christmas wreaths.
Oh, yes. Great idea.
Oh, that's a brilliant idea. I love the name Lavender Bubbles. Isn't that so cute?
It's such a funny one. Yeah. So that's a paler colour. So Millennium's quite dark purple. Millennium's pale purple. And then there's another one called In Orbit. And that is like a pinky colour. And that's lovely as well.
Well then, 5 edible plants.
Right, interesting one, this one, because if I'm really honest, I actually have quite little interest in edible plants.
You're not the first.
I'm very much an ornamental gardener. So I have a few that I like, but again, they're maybe more grown for their ornamental look rather than...
as well.
That is also cool.
Yeah. So, first of all, we have a beautiful crabapple tree at Lytham Hall, and I just love it for its autumn colour. The crabapples look beautiful, and it has a lovely spring blossom as well. So I think that's a hard-working tree with lots of great parts to it.
Yeah,
they are beautiful.
Strawberries, simply because I like eating them.
You love strawberries.
And they're dead easy.
As good a reason as any.
Yeah, of course.
You don't grow any, though, in pots?
I grow a few, but it's more that when you visit a garden and you get a Victoria sponge cake and it comes with pouring cream and some little strawberries on the side, it makes me really happy. So
it's a very good reason.
It's a very, very good reason.
So a punnet from Tesco will do you.
It'll do. It honestly will do. But there is nothing like growing your own. I do have that. But my time mainly goes into my flowers.
Yeah.
I like violas because you can decorate salads with them. And
they're lovely.
Yeah, peppery taste. They look nice in your pots.
They're so beautiful, aren't
really
they?
cute.
Yeah.
Exquisite flowers.
Really great. Fennel, not because I want to eat it, but because you can chop it with those, these big long, the wispy tops to it. And again, just like the alliums, you can spray them silver and use them as a great Christmas decoration.
Oh, right.
Oh, I'm going to be going hell for leather with my Christmas decorations
with
this
your silver
year.
spray.
Oh, yes, with a bit of silver spray. That's
silver
it.
Spray.
Yeah, on them. They look great, honestly.
Thanks,
they
Greg.
really do.
That's the dining room table.
I will put down a thing beforehand.
I thought those years were behind us, Sweetpea. Now you've gone off to uni.
What, of me sitting at the table with my little apron on, painting stuff?
Yeah, you're allowed, because Greg said so.
Yeah, of course.
So that's all good. So I like fennel for that reason. And then finally, thyme. I have, between my paving stones in my front garden, I have the proper prostratus, creeping thyme.
Gorgeous.
Nice.
And it just, I think it's great because you can kind of, walk on it barefoot and you get all that scent, and it's lovely. So, they're my
really
kind of favourite
choice.
ones. Yeah.
How did you start the creeping thyme? Did you buy a little cluster or did you start from seed?
I bought little tiny clusters, and you know what? They have spread so quickly. They really have taken,
Really?
And then obviously you can divide them eventually as well, and that sort of thing, and they'll just keep going, and you can produce more plants and expand your thyme lawn.
Well, that's something I've always wanted to have.
Yeah, you've wanted especially.
It's worth it. Yeah,
we've tried
it's a good
growing
thing.
from seed and never had any success.
Seeds are hard
I think
to
we
do.
need to buy little sort of plugs and
just little 9 centimetre plants is what I started with, and literally drop them in, and they've been in. Well, they've only been in a year actually. Those and they've filled out. You just have to watch that you don't get any perennial weeds start coming through them, because it can soon. It can soon.
Hard to weed that out.
Yeah, it is a bit, but they're great.
Yeah, I think the biggest hatred of all gardeners is when you have a weed in the middle of a plant and you just can't get it out, because otherwise you destroy the roots of your own plant.
We have exactly that. I have a dandelion just persistently growing up through the
Aubrietia.
Oh, yes, it's a shame.
And I can't pull it out. All I can do is pluck the leaves off, because otherwise I'm destroying the Aubrietia.
That said, a dandelion against an Aubrietia, actually, I bet the colour looks quite nice.
Yeah,
that is a good point.
But we're covering all bases with dandelions everywhere. We are. It could just leave our Aubrietia alone.
I think I'm very much trying to look at the positive there.
You
with
are.
The capital
I see that
lining. In this terrible situation of having
I wanted
a dandelion
to ride that wave
Aubrietia.
with you, but I just can't get there, I'm afraid.
You're in the depths of
Not at all.
despair. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right.
Oh, dear.
What is your one statement tree?
Prunus autumnalis, actually. Again, because it's got such a good long flowering period, and it will come into flower and flower at a time that will just surprise you. So by kind of the nature of the name, it's actually autumn into winter flowering, and it can come into flower and then kind of stop, but then it can start again. So you can get that surprise. It has nice autumn colour too with it. So that's another aspect of it. But I think they're a nice tree that have quite a wild look to them too. So they're lovely. They're one of my favourites.
It's a nice choice that's been chosen before by Liz and Fee, wasn't it?
It's loved for its colour.
Do you have trees in your garden?
So I have a holly tree in the front garden, and I've learnt a very good lesson with this. And this is a lesson that I've really learnt with some deciduous trees in the past, which is that when you're planting a tree, it is far better to plant a smaller one, get it established, and let it grow, rather than being tempted to think, right, I'm going to spend on a statement tree, go big, get my privacy immediately. Because that holly tree has really struggled to get established, and it is still even now quite spindly and a little bit sickly looking. They did a very good job when they were filming Gardener's World to kind of not get it in shot too much. Yeah, skirt around the holly tree. It was a bit, it was a bit
clever like that, aren't
they? But yeah, and I remember, I think it was one of the at the flower shows, there's the potting shed stage with Martin and Jill Fish, who are absolute legends. They're brilliant people. And there was one of the guests on there, and they were saying that if you were to plant a mature tree versus one that was half its height, give them 5 years and they'll both be the same height, because that bigger tree takes longer to establish a sufficient root to give it enough energy to grow.
Right.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah, so start with that smaller tree and let it grow, because I've had customers in the past who've insisted on buying the biggest tree, and actually, they'd have been better just having a small one, especially if they're not as good on the watering, which I have a few.
Well, this is good news.
Very
because
good news.
Just by due to financial constraints, we've never been able to get big trees, and I've always wanted to, because I want to establish our trees.
Of course, you want
nice
woodland
already. I want to sit under
the
shade of them before I die, essentially. But we did this last year. We've had multiple years where we've bought trees and we've tried plug plant trees, so we do go for very, very small.
Small.
But last year, or the beginning of this year, we went with whips, and they have taken off.
Changes everything.
You're just putting a stick in the ground, and suddenly we've got pretty decent size, a good few feet high, really looking healthy.
It is amazing.
We did nothing with them.
I think also you feel maybe a bit more attached to that tree because you've kind of grown it from literally being a baby. So I think also that they don't need as much staking. I mean, we battled for years with trying to get the correct way to stake trees. We started with them, on an angle. We just found that they ended up slipping, and whereas what we do now, if it's a mature tree, we put 2 posts in, a bar across, and then a nice sort of cushion there with a tie around it, that works, very well. But you don't have to worry as much about the staking with a smaller tree because it just gets itself going. Yeah.
Would you like a pond or a pool, and what plant would you like in that area?
So my pond would definitely have come above a pool, though on some of these hot days that we have had this summer, I've been tempted to dive in the pond, so it's practically turned into a pool. My favourite plant for in or around the edge of the pond is Iris sibirica, and I think they are a great way to grow irises. I can sometimes find some of the rhizome irises to just be a bit stubborn to flower, whereas Iris sibirica seems to be a lot more prolific. And I love the sort of, the leaves, which dragonflies love to climb up and all those sorts of things. And then these very delicate, often deep blue flowers. That proper blue can be quite hard to find in a garden. But they're really lovely.
Beautiful choice.
Yeah, so I would 100% have a pond, and I would be getting my pond plants from Lincolnshire Pond Plants at the flower shows, because genuinely, if Dawn does not know something about a pond plant, it ain't worth knowing. She's an absolute legend, honestly.
Right, okay, that's
good to know.
Yeah,
very interesting. But don't you want a pond to swim in slightly? Like you could have a swimming pond.
Yeah, I've seen those, the swim ponds. I just have a thing that, as much as I love my pond, I don't kind of want a frog swimming on my back. It's just
okay, I can understand.
I have a funny relationship with certain animals. I love frogs. I just wouldn't want to swim with them. And my team are constantly joking about my phobia of sheep. And yesterday I was doing a consultation.
How do they come into this?
Right. Well, they come into this in this way because I was doing a garden consultation yesterday in Wales, and my garden consultation got interrupted by an inconsiderate Welsh sheep, which the customer had to shoo out of the garden. They roamed freely in their property. It obviously wanted to have an opinion on what I was suggesting for the herbaceous border. No, I have a funny relationship with animals.
Right.
Sheep, and I wouldn't want to swim with a frog. So there we are.
So we could have a pond, no sheep allowed.
Yeah.
For me, it's more the leeches, I think, that concern me. The frogs I'd be okay with if it swam next to me, but not on my back either. I'm not sure I'd want that.
I just wouldn't want to disturb them.
Yeah, no, that's not really concerned me. It's been more the frog on my back, you know. I mean, like just this thing with the sheep. One of my colleagues, I was complaining last year about how much hotels were costing for the flower shows, and my colleague said, "Well, why don't we go camping?" You know, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, but a sheep could come in my tent at night." So he's still trying to persuade me. So I've tasked him with finding a campsite where there is no risk of sheep invading the tent at night. Anyway, so he's working on it. Yeah.
But that's a good point. So when you're away at these shows, you have to, of course, sort accommodation.
It's quite a challenge, actually. You know, kind of hotel costs. You know, it was several thousand for Hampton Court, and
several thousand.
Yeah, several thousand for myself and colleagues to have hotel rooms. So it's they've really, you know, they really have kind of, if you think the time you need for build, and then obviously, you know, after breakdown, really, do you want to be driving back then when you're tired after a full day? You know, it's kind of, so, you know, so yes, we are thinking about camping, but they'll have to be
sheep allowed.
No sheep allowed.
There must be somewhere you can camp without the risk of a sheep trundling into your tent.
Well, if anyone knows, let me know.
Let you know. Well, just quickly, last thing on the pond. What kind of form, style of pond are we looking at? Just to imagine it.
Very naturalistic, you know, and definitely no liner showing as well. I have a think about this. You know, it has to have the pebbles in it and that sort of thing.
You would hate our pond.
Ours didn't have liner showing until the dog decided she wanted to drink in it. One time she fell into it.
She fell in.
I watched it accidentally occur. It might have been accidentally on purpose and made to look like she had just fallen. She loves that pond, but it's knocked all the stones in.
Have I got a story about a pond and a dog? So one garden that I did for an American customer, she had this dog which was absolutely part of the family, and it loved to go in water. So in this little courtyard, we said, right, we need to create a pond for the dog. Well, said pond ended up becoming incredibly fancy for this dog. So it had a mosaic in the bottom of it. It had bullnose edges to the paving, so the dog could easier get in. It was lit, filtered.
You're not serious.
It was everything.
Gosh,
it had a little bubble in it. It was the most pampered dog in Lytham, and we still joke about it. And you know what? It's it will always be Sophie's pond.
Sophie's pond, the dog. Did you design the pond then? Is that part of
I designed the pond for the client. Yeah, so
what
that was
fun though when you get that remit. We would like a pond for the dog. And
it was
great.
To town. Yeah, it was great. And I think the part of the reason was that I designed for them this sort of big waterfall, and that had a pond in it, and she was concerned that the dog, like, you know, yours, would literally go and dive in the pond. So we were like, right, well, we've got to make a pond for the dog, and it would make a great feature for the centre of this little courtyard that we were wondering what to do with it. Well, it's
fantastic.
a lovely feature now. Yeah.
Well then, final question for your dream garden, which is, what would be your favourite seating area, drink to have in that area, and a plant to have by your side?
So seating area would have really comfy seats with lots of cushions. I mean, no practicality there whatsoever in terms of where to store them, but I'd just have loads of them anyway.
Yeah.
Favorite drink? Well, I actually don't drink at all. By that I mean alcohol. So it's not a pinch.
How are you surviving?
How am I surviving?
Don't drink at all. I mean,
must drink water, Greg.
Must do. Yeah. So yeah, usually I'm drinking water. Or my favorite little thing to finish the day with is a hot milk. It sounds incredibly.
That is actually
our first hot milk.
Yeah, just get me a nice frothy hot milk. And
nothing
I'm
in
happy.
it? No cinnamon or anything?
No, just hot milk. Frothy, full fat hot milk, and I'm a happy man. And plant to have beside me would be one of my Nemesia Wisley Vanilla, because they just have the most
another one of those.
Lovely scent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Fantastic. So we spoke to Patrick Gale, who's in Cornwall, and he talked about cushions that you can just leave out all the time, and they're made from oilcloth that are used on all the boats down in Cornwall.
Yes.
Wow.
And there are some companies online, so I imagine where you are, being by the coast, you'll find an online company that would you have seating in your current garden?
I do, but it's not my final seating, if that makes sense. So I've got like a couple of benches that I'm just using as a temporary sort of measure, but they aren't like the most comfortable, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, my dream seating would be, I think that's the interesting thing, is these cushions, which are made from those fabrics, are, they are lovely, but I think I particularly like a very soft fabric. And
of course.
Ones that I've used before have always been a little bit rough, so I'll have to try his and see what they're like, because clients do often ask for the weatherproof cushions, and we've used them in the past, but when I've sat on them, I've just been like, oh,
doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
So what will you get to replace the benches then in time?
Probably like a modular seating of some sort with some really nice cushions, so that I can lie on there with my hot milk, with my sticky toffee pudding, with both custard and ice cream together.
Wow.
And I will be a happy man. And I'll be a happy man on my
You added in a pudding as well. I like it.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Gosh, yeah. It's something I'm known for, because when I visit gardens, I have to try the cake. So when I do talks, I'll always tell them what the cake's like at these places. So it's no, I don't drink alcohol, but I like a good pudding.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, Sweetpea doesn't drink alcohol, likes good pudding, and is at the stage now of starting to rank all the gardens we've visited based on the cakes.
I'm going to create a list of my rankings of cake.
Oh, please share it, honestly.
Cake.
Yeah.
I'd love a little collab over that, Sweetpea. Absolutely. We could go on about that for ages.
Yes, entirely about cake.
Yeah, let's do that. I would love to do a session just about gardens and their cake, and we could just go over all the different ones. Wouldn't that be ace?
Gosh, I'm so on board with that. Yes.
It's a whole podcast in itself.
It is a whole podcast in itself. Well, I'm going to read you about your dream garden, just in case you want to change anything or at all. So the garden boundary, we had a mix of cobble walls and a heritage brick wall, quite high, nice and private, but you still wanted to be near the sea.
That's right.
Then you wanted a greenhouse, like the old vicarish greenhouse, but you wanted a cobbled floor. It was going to be for ornamentals, cacti, tender plants, and you wanted kind of just be able to sit in there, spend hours in there.
Literally.
Literally.
Like Sweetpea.
Then your 5 ornamentals, we had Verbena lollipop, Scabious mariposa blue, Nemesia Wisley vanilla, Hellebores cyclamen. We did sneak in a sneaky 6th plant.
We did.
But I did like the combo, and obviously the allium millennium. Then your 5 edibles were crabapples, strawberries, violas, fennel, and thyme. Your 1 statement tree was a Prunus autumnalis. You wanted a pond, very naturalistic, no liner, with no sheep in capitals, and Iris siberica around there.
Yes.
And then your favourite seating area was really comfy seats, loads of cushions, soft cushions, with obviously the Nemesia Wisley vanilla next to you, and then a hot frothy milk with sticky toffee pudding, ice cream, and cream.
And custard with it
and
as
custard,
well.
And custard.
And custard as well. Very, very important.
All the dairy.
Very important. I love it.
So yeah, the garden's right. The pudding was just slightly off. That's all.
Yes, I'm adding in the custard, honestly.
Which I'm shocked at, Sweet, because you are a pudding aficionado.
I can't believe I forgot it, honestly.
I expect this is probably your favourite on-a-counter set.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds absolutely wonderful. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure, honestly. It's been just honestly great chatting to you about all things gardens. It really has, honestly. I really enjoyed it.
It's a nice topic to cover.
It's just so happy.
And we wish you all the best with your displays next year. We'll be watching avidly.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we've applied for lots of them, so stay tuned to hear about which ones we'll be at.
Absolutely.
That's been a good old chit-chat with Greg.